Today, the issue we are going to discuss is one that has been making news for a while. It is an issue that has its origins in the coronavirus outbreak and in the recent crisis in the Ladakh sector against China. The issue is, of course, Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now, the Prime Minister gave a speech at the inauguration of the India Global Week. The meet, which is being held virtually due to the coronavirus outbreak, had the Prime Minister speaking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, the entire idea of Atmanirbhar Bharat, and he wanted to take the same idea to the world. The session, the India Global Week, which will be conducted from July 9 to July 11, it's going to have audience from almost 30 nations across 75 sessions. It's going to have all the thought leaders of the industry. It's going to have all the captains of the industry. And it's going to take the message of Atmanirbhar Bharat to the world. For long, the audiences in India, the people of India have been discussing what Atmanirbhar Bharat may or may not mean. But now it's for the world to know that India is ready to be self reliant. India is ready to take the next leap towards growth, towards development, and it's going to start now in 2020. So we'll look at four questions today. One, of course, is the origins. Why Atmanirbhar Bharat and where does it really begin from? Because of course, there's a lot of talk about self-reliance. There's a lot of talk about getting companies from China, getting companies from the West to make in India, to produce for India. As the Prime Minister rightly pointed out in his speech, it's about not just self-sustaining India, but self-generating India. So we not only sustain what we're producing, we're also generating everything we want within our country. So the first question which we look at today is the question of China. Now, why China? For a number of reasons. One, the great trade deficit we have with China. We import far more from China than we export to them. Then there is the question of the LAC that has come up, the line of actual control. India lost 20 soldiers, and China perhaps has lost far more number of soldiers, but they're not confirming, of course. But the crisis, the military crisis that has happened in the Ladakh sector, that has warranted fresh thinking on the Chinese front. Now, China in the last 15 years, it has flooded the Indian market with cheap goods. It's not just about the mobile phones or toys. It's also about the clothing. It's also about social media networking platforms, which until now were enjoying a ramping growth in India. For instance, TikTok, 120 million active users. So that's the first question of China. Now, when we look at China, we cannot just look at mobile phones. We cannot just look at TikTok. We have to look at the overall import picture. And here some numbers are important. If you look at imports in India in the major sectors, and we'll put that number on the screen as well, the imports from all sectors, the Chinese share was close to 25%. Some numbers even estimated at 30%. So even if we take the conservative figure of 30%, one third of our imports were coming from China. Now, where are the critical sectors here? Which are the critical sectors? Electrical machinery and equipment saw a 39% share of Chinese imports. Mechanical appliances, nuclear reactors, boilers, they saw one third of Chinese share in the imports. Organic chemicals, 40%. Plastics 19%, iron and steel 11%, and these are just some numbers. So while we always confuse that, when we talk about Chinese imports, it's all just about a TikTok ban or the 58 other apps that were banned along with it, or the Vivos and the Oppos and the OnePlus. It's not. It goes far beyond the mobile phones and the social networking platforms. It concerns our pharmaceutical industries. It concerns our automobile industry. Now, for instance, there has been this news. Now that we're looking to be an Atmanirbhar Bharat, the delays in Atmanirbhar Bharat cannot happen. Being self-sufficient is also about being quick, being fast, being efficient. The sufficient comes with the efficient. So when we talk about the pharmaceutical industry, the automobile industry, there's this question that industries in India, the manufacturing plants are suffering because there's a delay in the goods incoming from China. So this is the problem, the question of China that needs to be addressed. And this will be a long term. The answer to this will be a very long term one because you cannot fix the problem, the dependency on China. For instance, in a sector which relies 40% for its imports on China, that of organic chemicals, it cannot fix the problem overnight. It needs a long-term capacity building solution. And that is where the Atmanirbhar Bharat starts. Now, this brings us to the second question. What can actually make this possible? Now, the Prime Minister, in his speech to the India Global Week earlier today, he pointed out that the global revival, it will have India at its center. India will be critical to the global revival after the pandemic which has struck all of us, the COVID-19 outbreak. Now, one reason, of course, is the talent we have, the human resources, as people in the Silicon Valley will tell you about, as people in Europe, in Africa, they'll tell you about, as people in India will tell you about. The kind of solutions we have been making, the tech solutions that have come up, the PPE kits that were not being manufactured in India before the coronavirus struck, and now India is a leading supplier for those kits. All these are examples of the kind of talent India has. But that's just not all. The point also is about the reforms and the rejuvenation. Now, you obviously saw a number of reforms being announced by the finance minister very recently as a part of the stimulus package, the rupees 20 lakh crore stimulus package that came out. A lot of reforms were announced. A lot of reforms were announced by the states to gather more investments. For instance, Uttar Pradesh did away with a lot of redundant labor laws. So you'll see all those laws, but it goes far beyond that too. Now, there are some things that the Prime Minister pointed out, that of financial inclusion. Now, if the biggest enabler of the Atmanirbhar Bharat is to be seen, we have to look at the Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and Mobile Yojana. For any country to become Atmanirbhar, for any country to march on that $5 trillion goal which the Prime Minister has set for the GDP of India, the financial inclusion is inevitable, it's indispensable. And financial inclusion has been achieved in India. Almost 400 million Jan Dhan accounts have been opened. They have been linked to the mobile phones. India today has one of the lowest cost per gigabyte for an internet, thanks to the Geo Revolution. So financial inclusion is well on its way, powered by the trinity of Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and mobile. Then there's the GST, which is making trade even easier. It's increasing tax compliance, things like that. The Ayushman Bharat, a healthcare program for 50 crore people, which is almost 1/6 the population of the United States, or 1.6 times the population of the United States, in fact. Then there's also the question of the future sectors, the sunrise sectors. For instance, logistics is going to be a big sector coming up in India. There is investment being allowed in that sector. Storage, cold storage, for our agriculture, for our farmers, all these sectors, they will be important for Atmanirbhar Bharat. And this is where the Prime Minister's focus is right now. Now, already some steps have been taken, even though some of these steps are relatively small as to what needs to be achieved for Atmanirbhar Bharat. Some steps have been rightfully taken. The one was the new boycott China program that has begun. Now, India Inc. is already behind the Prime Minister to go for a more made in India, for a vocal for local campaign, and already India Inc. is backing that. There's more investment on the solar energy front, on the renewables front, more vocal for local fact. There's also the question of the apps that were banned. Now, some may say that it was a very frivolous ban to just get rid of 59 apps, which was not contributing much to the revenue of TikTok, for instance. But they had 120 million active users. And so digital economy is not something you can easily ignore. So banning TikTok was one right step, and instead encouraging the likes of Chingari and Metro, which are relatively local competitors of TikTok. They also are an example of Atmanirbhar Bharat, self-sustaining, self-generating, even though they are just social media apps. But then if 1/10 of the Indian population, which is more than the population of 95% countries of the world, are on those social networking apps, it certainly holds a lot of potential for future revenues. Now, the pharmacy, the automobile sector has also realized its vulnerability to the Chinese imports, and now they are also working. For instance, the pharmaceutical industry, it relies on China for 70% of its APIs, or active pharmaceutical ingredients. Now, these are ingredients instrumental in making your everyday medicines. For instance, the likes of paracetamol, which is a household medicine, doesn't even require prescription. So the pharmaceutical industry has also realized its mistake. They want to cut down the dependency on China. And this is the Atmanirbharta we should be really striving for. And this brings us to a third question. It's not going to be simple. It's relatively not going to be simple. Now, a lot of critics have already come out and said that, oh, this is going to be a very tough job. India cannot boycott China's goods right away. There have been a lot of editorials written that it's not possible for India to even think of decoupling with China on the trade front. Well, all of it is true. It's not possible to fix these kind of problems overnight, but then they need to be fixed somewhere. And this brings us to the third question, learning from China. It's ironical that to cut our dependency on China, we have to learn from China, because China also started its journey of somewhat of an Atmanirbharta 3 to 4 decades ago. If I looked at my research, I can go that in the share of global exports and imports, China just had 1% in 1980, its share of global imports and exports. By 2018, the exports were in the neighborhood of 13%. The imports were in the neighborhood of 11%. So from 1980, it went from 1% of exports and imports to 13 and 11%. Now, if you look at contrast with India, around independence, our share of global merchandise exports was 2.2%. So in the total exports across the globe, our share was 2.2%. China was 1 point something, 1.2% or something. Today they have a greater advantage. In fact, India has gone from 2.2% in 1948 to 1.7% in 2019. So if Atmanirbharta has to begin, these are the 9 points we need to consider. Now, coming back to China, around 1980, the GDP of India and China was relatively the same. In the last 3 decades, the GDP of China has grown 4 to 5 times India's size. So, since 1990, Chinese GDP has now become 4 to 5 times of India's size. Now, that's one example that China and India, of course, there is a contrast. And if India needs to be Atmanirbhar, it needs to factor in the reality that China has rightfully done some things right. Now, very minute example, if I talk about, is the bullet train. Now, we all are obsessed with faster railways. There's a talk of trains being privatized, some 150 trains being privatized. There's a talk of the Mumbai-Ahmedabad corridor for the bullet train. Now, everyone is pretty excited about that, but then we're also not alien to the news that keeps coming about the delays in land acquiring, the delays which happen due to bureaucratic nature of our working. China is another lesson. China serves another lesson here. Between 2008 and 2018, China constructed the world's biggest high-speed railway network, the biggest. Now, when they started in 2008, their high-speed railway network was less than the entire world. It was almost negligible. Today, if you put together the high-speed railway network of the entire world, China is far more bigger. So its HSR, the high-speed rail network, is bigger than that of the entire world put together, including Japan, including South Korea, Europe, America, you name it, and China has done it. Now, it also warrants a comparison between US and China. Now, when US, after the post-World War II, it had almost 50% of the global market share. By 1980, it came down to 22%. Today, it's relatively 16 to 18%. China, on the other hand, it started with 2% in 1980, moved to 18% in 2016, and it's well on its way to become 30% of the global market share by 2040. So these are the numbers China is already aiming for. In 1980, China's gross domestic product was less than 300 billion. Less than 300 billion in 1980. By 2015, it's 11 trillion. China's trade in 1980 with the outside world, it amounted to 40 billion. Just 40 billion. Today, it's 4 trillion. In 2015 itself, it was 4 trillion. So, there are some lessons that India must learn from China when it comes to being Atmanirbhar. Because there are a lot of critics who would say that India is looking to embark on a journey it possibly cannot complete, that of Atmanirbharta, that of self-sufficiency. But the PM has rightfully said, it's a long-term goal. It can be achieved. The reforms are in place. The talent is in place. The demographics are in place. And today, when the PM has taken the message of the same Atmanirbharta to the world, it's our job to back the Prime Minister, to back the Vocal for Local campaign, and ensure that an Atmanirbhar Bharat is indeed successful. Because if China could, India also can. This was the first episode of Swaraj's Standpoint. I'm Tushar Gupta. Thank you for watching.